Welcome to the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. Rolex luxury isn't just for the rich and the shopaholic. It is also for watch collectors who dream of prestige, premium functionality, and unbeatable class. When you think of Rolex, you imagine luxury. Given the impeccable recognition the brand has built for itself for over a century, it's no surprise that Rolex has an excellent resale value. If not for the functionality and prestige, you may purchase a Rolex watch to hold a specific price value and sell at a profit. But choosing the best Rolex watch to invest in 2022 can be tricky, given the overwhelming variety. So we have created this list of the 10 Rolex watches you can invest in 2022. You can trust our years of collecting luxury timepieces to help you make a great choice. Let's begin. Rolex Submariner, approximately $11,500. If you're into the best Rolex to buy in terms of popularity, then a Submariner may be for you. Handsome, durable, and noticeably sporty, this Rolex offers a sleek appearance while boasting watertight integrity to about 300 meters, more profound than the average sport diver will ever go down. Due to their quality and rugged durability, Rolex Submariners in general are greatly desired by those who purchase in the retail market world. A disclaimer about the Rolex Submariner 16610 specifically, counterfeiting happens for this timepiece is so popular and valuable in the retail market world. Be sure to purchase from a reliable shop or store that provides a certificate of authenticity at the time of sale. The Rolex Submariner is the safest bet for buying Rolex watches for investments. Rolex Daytona, approximately $13,150. If you're looking for a state-of-the-art classic timepiece, the Rolex Daytona is what you might be wanting. Thanks to the trio of sub-dials, this model offers a unique aesthetic and it is named next to one of America's auto racing capitals. If price, speed, luxury, and performance are what the cost means for you, then the Daytona watch is worth trying. The popularity among celebrities is perhaps why this particular Rolex holds so much value. For example, the amount of 989,000 Swiss francs, equivalent to about 1,089,186 in US dollars, was the price of the Paul Newman Rolex Daytona when sold at Christie's auction. Rolex GMT Master, approximately $16,500. The Rolex GMT Master is the ultimate iconic Rolex watch and it follows the Submariner as one of their top watches. There's a high demand for the Rolex GMT Master and the GMT Master 2, and the vintage GMT Masters have been models that have remarkably increased their cost as time went by. For example, the first Rolex GMT Master, reference 6542, has grown significantly in importance and can now sell for over $16,000. The Rolex GMT Master is a watch that has a significant role in Rolex's history. Pan American Airlines has its look to help the pilots flying across time zones simultaneously keep track of two time zones. During its launch, the GMT Master had a convenient feat and led the way for other brands to take a step. People who collect and watch enthusiasts are crazy with the GMT Master and the GMT Master 2, and accordingly, the demands for these models have always been there. Like with the Rolex Submariner, there have been numerous references for the GMT Master, and today, some are more popular than others because of the different reasons discussed. Therefore, a Rolex GMT Master is one of the best Rolex watches to buy for investment. It is still important at the same time that you carefully research the different references that exist because not all GMT Masters are created equal. Rolex Oyster Perpetual, approximately $6,600 US dollars. The Oyster Perpetual is one of the timeliest names in Rolex's inventory. It has occupied Rolex's entry-level collection of watches for the past several years. While there was historically not that much hype surrounding the line, in 2022, the Rolex Oyster Perpetual marked a huge year, and its collection updates even stole a number of headlines from the newly launched Submariner brand. The brand new 41mm version of the Oyster Perpetual, along with the new movements in a range of vibrant dial colors, came, which replaced the largest model in the line. The vibrant dial versions of both 36mm reference number 12600 and the 41mm reference number 124300 are currently trading hands for anywhere between 50% to 150% above their brand new retail prices on the open market are also greatly popular. Outside of the current inventory, the previously cancelled Oyster Perpetual 39, reference 114300 as well, offers a lot of investment potential. The 39mm is considered to be somewhat of a sweet spot in terms of case size for many collectors, additionally to a somehow short span of production, given that it was only part of Rolex's inventory from 2015 to 2020, and open market prices for the reference 114033 has continued to be on the top ever since it was stopped. Lastly, the previous 36mm generation suddenly now offers collectors a lot of value for the money, with the cost for the current production Oyster Perpetual 36 being as high as they are now. And the lugs of the cover on the older reference 116000 are slightly larger than the latter model, offering it a slightly larger and more sporty feel on the wrist. Even if it lacks the new movements generation, timekeeping performance will be identical at -2, +2 seconds per day. Rolex Datejust, approximately $9,900 To a simple person, it is the classic two-tone Rolex Datejust that is the brand's most emblematic model. The 36mm model in yellow gold and stainless steel became a complete icon during the peak of its popularity in the 1980s. Rolex's best-selling watch of all time is the Datejust. The classic two-tone Datejust 36 persistently remained affordable on the pre-owned market relative to the brand's other mega-famous models and is instantly recognizable and arguably one of the most important watches that Rolex has ever created. 4 is such a staple of Rolex's catalog, and it can now be seen in a number of various forms on the pre-owned market because this timepiece two-tone Rolex Datejust with a fluted bezel has been persistently available over the years. This availability has historically helped to keep prices down. However, as the cost for all of Rolex's other watches proceeds to increase over the years, the timeless two-tone Datejust has instantly become an underrated choice for those searching for a pre-owned Rolex. Whether you choose the reference 1601 with its pie-pan dial and acrylic crystal, the reference 16013 with its flat dial and acrylic crystal, or the reference 16233 with its flat dial and sapphire crystal, you can add one of these classic Rolex designs to your collection for anywhere between $5,000 and $9,000 on the pre-owned market, and this represents only a minor premium in price compared to their stainless steel counterparts. Rolex Sea Dweller reference 16600, approximately $11,931.26. The Rolex Sea Dweller is not nearly as famous as its little brother, the Rolex Submariner. Rolex has also replaced the Sea Dweller over time. The brand decided to take an unlikely approach with the most recent iteration, while the model familiarity measures the same 40mm as the Submariner with a thicker case for increased water resistance. The current Sea Dweller reference 126600 has a powerful 43mm case and a different dial with a red shade touch. While it is perfectly a great watch, increasing the dimensions has made it too huge for some wrists to wear. If you want to experience what made the Sea Dweller a great watch in the first place and prefer the 40mm size, pick the Sea Dweller reference 16600. This reference is from 1989 until 2009 that Rolex produced. Later models are very modern in both appearance and technology, while earlier models have more vintage vibes. The absolutely best thing about these watches is that they start at just under $9,500 and go up to $16,500, whether they come with their box and papers, depending on their condition. They were saying as the C-Dweller reference 16600 is such a key factor in the history of models that it will very likely go up in price over time. Rolex Milgauss reference 116400GV with a black dial, approximately $7,650. The Rolex Milgauss is a bit strange in the current Rolex lineup. This model was for engineers and technicians who needed a watch that could withstand magnetic fields, which is what the manufacturer originally developed for. You could even name it a bit of a nerdy timepiece due to its anti-magnetic properties, but if looking closely, you'll see it's anything, but it is actually the funkiest Rolex in the brand's current inventory that starts with a green sapphire crystal that is fade-proof and scratch-proof to make sure ideal readability. The green crystal, black dial, and orange shade, look at that orange second hand, make this a very bright Rolex. There is also a blue Z-dial version at hand, but it is more known and therefore more costly. The black dial version has a list price of $7,650, but you can find some models on Chrono24 for less, making it one of the few Rolexes with a negotiable price below its priced list. That being said, for a new model with its box and papers, prices go up to around $13,000. It seems pretty obvious that the cost will increase for this watch, probably considering it is expected to be updated in the upcoming. Rolex Yacht Master 2, approximately $18,750. Now we're talking serious sailing technology, with one of Rolex's more sophisticated movements, including a 10-minute countdown, stopwatch modification, running seconds on a technically placed sub-dial on top of 6 o'clock, a larger 42mm cover, a ceramic bezel, 300 meters of water resistance, and more yachting style than any other sailing watch on the market. Released in 2010, the Yacht Master 2 is the recently new model from Rolex, and it has yet to gain historical remarks. As such, they're more prepared available at retail, and for those who dig the maritime vibe and the cool movement, the Yacht Master 2 is a hit. Rolex Air King, approximately $6,200. Released in 1945, Rolex's Air King seized that gesture of enthusiasm for the modern, and no other thing at that moment said future besides the beautiful commercial jets that showed how a weekend jaunt across oceans to Paris, New York, Rome, or London really is in reality. Interesting tidbit, the 34mm case was called the King for it was considered large at the time. Today's model is a 40mm across and carries one of the most alienating dials in Rolex's inventory, alongside with Sky Dweller. Acknowledging the irregular hour and minute point on the modern Air King are visibly different, for others jarring, as are the touches of yellow and green. It's the only Rolex watch to embody in its dial the colored logo style. For 2022, the Air King went thoroughly refreshed with the latest design tweaks, movement, and most notably, a new Oyster cover featuring crown guards, giving the new Air King a unique feature set among the brand's collections. Rolex Cellini, approximately $15,200. Historically, Rolex hasn't been a big dress watch company. But ironically, it is their dressy Cellini collection that the brand has been the stylistically most daring. It's almost as if the Cellini line exists as an aesthetic playground for Rolex, though that was true during the 1970s when seemingly every shape known to geometry was tried and abandoned on an annual basis. Today's Cellini line has been reduced to a single model, the moon face, making this certain model stand alone not only as the sole current collection, but also as one of Rolex's most defined and quirky models, displaying not only phases of the moon, but the date using a pointer instead of the often gap. Like the collection's previous models, it's dressily styled in that 1930s way that still symbolizes the main suggestions from Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin. Rolex makes no aspiration to hand-building their watches, however, the Cellini line means a reasonable entry into the market of high-end Swiss dress watches. Among all these top models, which Rolex holds the best value? Many experts agree that the Submariner takes over in this variety. The Submariner seems to be the most popular simply because of its timeless appearance and its durable reliability despite the fact that gold prices often increase. Of course, it's impossible to tell what will happen in the future. Our advice? Choose a Rolex that personally appeals to you, and if you can get your hands on a highly coveted limited edition model, the odds of making a profit when it's time to sell are certainly in your favor. What do you think of our list of our top 10 Rolex watches to invest in? Did we include your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. If you believe this video is helpful, then please hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you're given a heads up when our next video goes live. This is The Luxury World, and we'll see you next time.